Hey guys, welcome back to another Fins Up Ramley. Today we're going with our third conference breakdown projection video, and today we are talking about a very interesting division for the wrong reasons, Ashton, and that is the NFC North, which we all know has the Packers, Lions, Vikings, and Bears. So, Ashton, what are your first thoughts about the NFC North before we dive straight in with our first team being the Bears?
Yeah, so this division has some very interesting teams. Teams that are in the transition. I almost will say, Andy, confused teams. Teams that you thought were gonna start rebuilding, but they never really did. In the Bears and Vikings, they're like in this weird middle state where they don't know what they want to do. Of course, you have the Packers. The Packers have been the Packers since Aaron Rodgers has been there, and we will talk more about that here in a few minutes. But in general, the Packers have been the Packers. We'll see if that happens this year. And then the Lions have been straight garbage for a little bit, and they lost their starting QB in a trade with my Rams. And now they have Jared Goff, and we'll see if the former first round or first overall pick can have a bounce back year from two, let's say, down years.
Spoiler alert, no. The answer will be no. But we'll get to the Lions in a second. Starting out, Ashton, let's talk about the Bears. Now, the Bears last year made the playoffs, 8-8, barely squeaked in the NFC side. Was second in the NFC North, right above the Vikings, behind the Packers. A very weird team. They couldn't decide who they wanted a quarterback between Foles and Trubisky. Both of them, luckily for Bears fans, are long gone out of Chicago. So now you have the starter QB day one will be Andy Dalton, and most likely throughout the season, you're going to see kind of what we did with the Dolphins and work Justin Fields in at some point of the season. So they're still contending, I guess. It's not a full rebuild. They do add, like I said, you get Dalton in the offseason, you get Desmond Trufant, a veteran corner, to come try to help. But I mean, you really don't lose or gain anybody. It's mostly just this is the same team from last year. We're gonna go off of Justin Fields. He's gonna be our ticket. Think their ideology is we just need a quarterback. Everything else is fine. I am not sold on that. I like their defense, but it does need help. They I don't like their corners that much. With Trufant being getting older, getting worse as the years go on. Of course, they got Khalil Mack, one of the best linebackers in the NFL. A pretty good pass rush still. They were 11th in defense last season. They'll be hovering around that top 10 ish level this season, but it all goes down to Justin Fields, Ashton. If he can become a superstar quarterback, like I think he can, he was my second overall quarterback in the draft. I think the Bears would be good, but I don't see them doing very well in year one with Justin Fields. What do you think?
hmm yeah, Andy. To me, Justin Fields was my second QB on the board too in the draft. I really love his game. His only concerns to me were it's very similar to like his injury and his history with those. And I think he'll be fine. I think he'll be the best Bears quarterback they've ever had. I truly do believe that. And, as a Rams fan, I am very happy to be facing Andy Dalton week one. I hope they stick with him the whole game. You're going to do so good with Dalton Bears. Like, just stick with that plan. I love it. Because, to be honest, I think Fields scares me a little. I think he has elite arm talent, great accuracy, and great mobility. Can he put that together on the next level, in the NFL level? We'll see. Uh, Weirdly enough, me and you are, I think, one of two or three games we plan on actually going to this season is that Rams versus Bear game. So we're gonna get to see the Bears in firsthand action. And Andy, is there anything you're looking forward to in that matchup? Anything you think one team has over the other, or like other their peers in the division?
Rams are going to destroy them. I mean, is that a very? I mean, listen, I'm not saying the Bears are a terrible team. They play really some tough teams this year. They play the entire NFC West. That's not going to be in their favor. I mean, they play a lot of the AFC North teams as well, with the Browns and the Bengals be coming up, going on the up, the Ravens. So they don't have an easy division schedule this year. That's not going to play in their favor. A little tidbit out there: I actually do have a Cincinnati Bengals Andy Dalton jersey, so Ashton, I'll be sporting that one when we go over there to LA. Supporting my man Andy Dalton, who is criminally underrated as a quarterback throughout his entire career. I mean, I'm not saying he's good right now. I'm not saying that, but no one talks about him having a good career. Not great, but a good career. They'll be fine. I mean, they'll be the Bears. They're not going to be good. They're going to have to rebuild, but they got their future franchise quarterback in Justin Fields, as long as they can build around him. So, Ashton, let's go ahead and break down the Bears' schedule. Like I said, they play some really tough opponents. They don't have a lot of easy games outside the Lions twice, and because of that, I have them going a very not healthy 5-12 this year. I think you might be a little shocked with that record. Last year going 8-8, they're going to be dropping some games, not because I think they're worse off, but because their schedule is tougher.
5-12. Ooh, that's an interesting take. So 5-12. Who do you have them beating at that
I got them beating
record?
close game against the Bengals. I think they can pull it off. Lions twice. I think they get a steal in Las Vegas. They beat the Raiders, and they finish their season with the win week 16 against the Giants.
Hmm.
I think I mean, there's other games in their schedules that they could pick off, like maybe the Cardinals at home could be a sleeper pick that they can get. I'm looking at the schedule right now, but I really don't see it. The Vikings, they can win, can pick off a win there, maybe, but that's two games that are toss ups. So my max for them is 7 wins, maybe, but I think 5-12. Ashton, what about you?
I have them going 10-7.
Ooh, wow, that is the complete opposite of me. Wow, but
I
why?
have them. I have them
Okay.
actually winning the division.
What?
Yeah,
What? Because
I
that's
will.
assuming.
I will go
Okay.
into that. I will go into that later.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, I really. I think they
Mm.
struggle early on, but I think really they're gonna change starting QBs after week 3, going into that Lions game, that first Lions game. I really do believe they're going to have a quick QB switch because they faced the Rams and the Bears in their first 3 matches, and they faced the Bengals. I guarantee you that QB switches if they lose to the Bengals and the Bears. Or, sorry, to the Bengals and the Browns. If they lose all 3, no doubt in my mind they're switching. But if they lose 2 of the 3, I really do think going into that Lions game where they need momentum, they'll switch QBs, and I think he will get hot, and they will string together a few impressive victories. 10-7 isn't great record, but I feel like the rest of this division, they're not bad team. They're not awful teams. Besides, you could argue the Lions, but they will lose to tougher teams, like great teams. And I just don't see the Vikings or the Packers being able to pick up enough slack to knock off the Bears. And I think they get a sneaky division win this year.
Wow, Ashton, that is not expected. I that's probably the first out of the 3. This is our third division, as we're breaking down. This is the first time we've had something completely different. We've had some, 1 or 2 wins difference. This is the first time we had a team flipped on how we think they're going to do. Um, we'll see. I mean, maybe Justin Fields can lead this Bears team to be something I don't see, but that's, I guess,
They
your.
have the defense for it. That's what I say. They have the defense to win close games, and they just need QBs that don't turn over the ball. That's what killed them the last 2 years. Is horrific QB play that turned over the ball, and their defense just couldn't bail them out most of the time. And I feel like this year with Justin Fields, he'll actually win a game or 2 on top of not losing a few. They're not going to be a great team. I don't think of them as Super Bowl contenders. I think of them as a wild card team that may end up winning a game in the playoffs, but nothing past that.
Well, actually, we'll definitely see. It's gonna be interesting when we go to our power rankings of the NFC after next week's NFC division when we go to the East. It'd be interesting to see where our because we're gonna have to compromise. We're doing me and you combined average power ranking, so we're gonna see where the Bears will be interesting. But let's move on to a team that I can almost 100% say is the worst team in football right now, and it's almost not even close. And that is the Detroit Lions. They are awful, completely awful. I mean, they're
That's
I have
that's a hot take. The
that is
Texans are
not a hot take.
trash.
Let me.
Texans are trash.
They lost Galladay, Marvin Jones, Sanu, Agnew. They lost their entire receiving core on top of their it's debatable generational quarterback in Matthew Stafford. Complete offensive change. And you look at their draft picks, I think they get a really good steal in the corner in the third round. They get Seawall in the first round. They don't go very hard on receivers. They have DeAndre Swift there running back, but you can't just run the ball the whole time. And the defense is not good, Ashton. This team is worse than last year by a lot because even when Stafford was hurt, you had some stud there's of receivers with Galladay and Jones to make up for it. They're gone. So you know who their number one receiver is this year, Ashton? Rashad Perryman. That's their number one receiver. They have TJ Hawkinson, but he's not enough to lead a team. I don't see this team. They were 20th in offense last season. They lose everybody that even made that team possible in a top 20 offense. Their defense was dead last in the league. That's going to repeat or be very close to it. And they had a -9 turnover differential. They gave away 9 more turnovers than they got. They're a terrible team that did not get better outside of the offensive line. And that I see it.
Wow. Do tell more. um, I don't think they're a worse team in football, especially if Watson doesn't play for Texans. I think Texans are a worse roster. I really do. And yeah, they lost a lot of pieces, but they did get Amon St. Brown. They got Sewell. They got Levi Uzuriki, and I really like that pick. I mean, to me, and a decent linebacker from Purdue. I like their draft. They, I'm gonna have a soft spot for their GM because
That's a
he's from the Rams. I
and it
really
off. Buy
and they
it.
have and they have
Take
Goff.
off the lenses, the Rams lenses, and see the roster for what it is. Unproven rookies who may or may not be good or bad, and terrible everywhere else.
I don't think they're going to be a good team, Andy. I have
They're
them
gonna be
going
trash.
3-14. I have them going pretty badly, but I do have
That
teams
is
going worse. I have teams going worse this year. So, I know a lot of Lions fans have started following me and, vice versa. So if you're a Lions fan, I'm really sorry. I really do think you have some good building blocks in the future, but this ain't gonna be your year. Jared Goff, I don't think he's a bad QB, but he he's not gonna win you any games. He's
especially
not.
now with this roster.
Yeah, like the only time you guys went to the playoffs with a double-digit win season, which was with Stafford, I believe they got 11 wins. Andy, 8 out of those 11 wins in that season, Stafford had to do a game-winning drive.
Hmm.
That's ridiculous to think about. That if he doesn't do that drive, they don't go to the playoffs that year. And I understand this team's rebuilding, but it's going to continue. They got a lot of draft capital, Andy, so they're going to have lots of picks to rebuild, and I think this team is on the upswing after this year. But you got to hit rock bottom sometime, Andy, and I guess this is it.
Yeah, I told you, I like their offensive line. I like Frank Ragnow. I love Seawald. They're building a better line. But you go and you lose Stafford and get Goff back, and we know how Jared Goff could barely take a team with Cup and Woods and Reynolds, and Everett and Higbee and your line and your running back with Akers, and the defense could barely take that team to the playoffs. They couldn't get past the Packers. You can say whatever situations, but still couldn't get past the Packers. And you're going. Goff's problem was always turnovers. You watch it in the Miami game. You watch in other games that he lost a lot of games to the Rams with the kind of team you had. He's going to one of, if not the worst, at least bottom 3 teams in the league in terms of talent wise in the Lions. And you think he's going to somehow be magically better than he was in the Rams? No way. You lose the offensive knowledge that it was there in the Rams with one of the best offensive with uh, McVay.
Sean McVay.
Yeah, you're going to the Lions, who's been historically waste of talent on offensive side of the ball. I mean, no receivers and Jared Goff there to get sacked and to throw picks. It's not going to be a fun year in Detroit, and I have them again for the second time, at least the second time. I think it's their only second time, but second time in their franchise history going 0-17. They're not. They're not winning. Well, first time 0-17. First time with 17 losses. They're not winning a game.
17?
They're not winning a game. They're not. That's not a hot take. Look at the. You want to go to the schedule with me? 49ers, no way. Rams, no way. Ravens, no. They don't play the Rams. Yeah, they do. Ravens, no way. Bears, they could maybe steal one. Don't see it happening. So they play the AFC North. They play the NFC West. They don't got easy opponents, and they're trash.
They're not the Bengals. That could definitely be win. They play the Falcons. They could beat
crush them.
And Vikings twice.
Vikings will destroy them with Dalvin Cook. No.
Eagles.
No, they're getting destroyed. I'm sorry, Ashton. I know you have a soft spot to the Lions because you got their quarterback, but they're garbage. They got a worse quarterback for a worse team with a terrible head coach. I don't like the Lions at all. No wins. And that is, if you want to say it's a hot take, fine. They're not winning a game, and you can quote me on that.
It's hard for a team to go 0-17.
But it's going to happen.
Especially, it was hard for 0-16.
Browns did it, Lions did it, and now they're going to do it again.
Okay, let's move on to the Packers, which
so another interesting team. So, real quick, guys watching, Ashton went on the mindset that Aaron Rodgers would not be playing with the Packers this season. I am going on the mindset that he is. So we're going to see kind of the contrasting views on that. So go ahead.
Ashton, we have no clue what Aaron Rodgers is going to do. Both me and Andy have talked about he is a little confusing this year because he's sending a lot of mixed signals. So I would be angry if I was a Packers fan, to be honest. But in general, I'm looking at it like he won't play. I don't think he will. That doesn't mean there isn't something to like about this Packers team. I mean, they have a really good roster, a solid defense. I think their defense will take a slight step down, but it won't be that much. And then, their offense, they have a lot of offensive talent with Devontae Adams, good tight ends, Aaron Jones. Andy, this team is a good roster. The question is, do they have someone who can put it all together? And I think Jordan Love will do a decent job at it. I just don't think he will win those clutch games that you're used to Aaron Rodgers pulling out, like the 49ers game. I think they're going to drop to them. I think they're going to lose to the Saints. They're going to lose to the Steelers. They will be easier teams. I have a lot of respect for Matt LaFleur. I think he's a great coach. But typically, teams that go to championships 2 times in a row, they usually drop off at this point in the 3rd or 4th year. And I think we're going to see a slight drop off, especially when Aaron Rodgers goes out. I think, actually, Andy, I'm being kind of generous with the fact that Aaron Rodgers isn't on this team, and I have them going 9-8. I have them going positive. I have them doing good, getting a few impressive wins, but I think they're going to drop some to certain teams. They have to face the Chiefs. I think they're going to lose to that. They have to face the Rams. They have to face the Browns. They have some not easy games, Andy, and I think they're going to struggle in those games. They face the Ravens. I do have them beating the Ravens, so it's not like
Ooh.
I have them losing to every great team. I'm just, to me, I'm getting a read of a good roster that's going to be have no QB, and I think that's going to hurt them in a few matches.
Flipping, I mean that's very reasonable for having no quarter. Well, I'm not a huge fan of Jordan Love, but I think he'll be okay. But assuming Aaron Rodgers is playing, that's where I went off of. I think he'll be back. Now, will he be full of MVP Rodgers mode? That who's to say? Um, I like a lot of what the Packers did in the offseason. They go and they get Devondre Campbell, the linebacker. I think it's a nice veteran pickup for the defense. Their draft, I really like some of their picks. They get Eric Stokes in the first round, the cornerback from Georgia. I really like his game. You pair him up with Jair Alexander to learn with him and to play with him. And you also have in that secondary Kevin King and Adrian Amos and Savage. So I think they have a really solid secondary now with the addition of Stokes. I like their center pick with Josh Myers from Ohio State. I think that will help the line. Obviously, they lost their big center to the Chargers and Lindsley. So that should help. I mean, he's a rookie, so we don't know exactly how well he'll instantly be starting because he will be in that rotation of like 1-2 split in time for that center role. And I really like them going and getting Amari Rodgers in the third round to help Rodgers with being a receiver. Rodgers to Rodgers connection. I like this team a lot. I mean, they're basically the same team of last season, except for their offensive line has gotten worse. I'm not going to deny that. So I have them losing less games. But assuming Aaron Rodgers comes back, everyone stays healthy, which was a problem with them last season, especially in that receiving core. I had the Packers going a respectable 12-5, winning the NFC North with Aaron Rodgers.
12-5.
Which I mean, that's not. I mean, with Aaron Rodgers, you can agree with that. They pick off one or 2 or 3 more games with Rodgers.
Yeah, I would say 12 or 11 would be where I kind of expect a Rodgers led Packers team to go.
All right, Asher, moving on to a team that I think we're going to be probably similar on for different reasons, and that is the Minnesota Vikings. So last season they went 7-9, very disappointing. They dealt with some injuries on the defensive line and the defense especially. You see they lose Kyle Rudolph, a veteran. You lose Anthony Harris, but you go and you get the defensive tackle and Tomlinson, a really big boy down there in the trenches to help fight with you, and they pick off Patrick Peterson from the Cardinals and I really also love their draft. They get Christian Darrisaw in the first round to help with the offensive line. I think he's going to be a stud. They get Kellen Mond in the third round to sit behind Kirk Cousins and maybe be
A good pick, I
maybe,
would say, in the
maybe
third
one of those
round.
paper quarterbacks that we don't know much about and can become a starter for the Vikings in a few years. I like Chaz Surratt, the linebacker from North Carolina, in the third round as well. And they finish with the guard Wyatt Davis. So help the line, help get a backup quarterback for when Kirk Cousins eventually is done because he's not leading this team to a Super Bowl. I think both me and you can agree on that. Top to bottom, I like their roster. Cook is back, one of the best running backs in the league, top 3. You don't have as good of a tight end core, but Irv Smith is decent. Their line is pretty good. The defensive line comes back if they're healthy, will be better than last year. I think you've got to look at that secondary. That is their issue. I think the secondary is going to allow a lot of passes down deep, and I think that's what to watch for. If their secondary can outperform what I think they're capable of, they're going to be a pretty good team and a sleeper playoff team. If their secondary performs like I think they will, that's going to keep them out of the playoffs, in my opinion. So last season, top 5 offense, but 27th in the league in defense. They definitely had to address that. I think they did with their picks. And I'm gonna go ahead and give you my record prediction, Ashton. Last year they went 7-9. This year, I think because their secondary is still not the best, I got them going 8-9 and finishing second in the NFC North behind the Packers.
Wow, that's good. Um, I'm not a fan of Zimmer, and I think they're gonna be. I don't think they're a bad team, but my record's gonna come across like I think they're a bad team. I think they're a victim of having a really strong um schedule. Like when you have to face the Steelers, the Packers, the Chargers, the Ravens, the 49ers, and then you have to face a great defense in the Bears twice. You have to face the Packers twice. You have to face the Browns in the NFC West. I think you're gonna have a tough season, especially if your defense doesn't perform. And I don't think they will, Andy. I think Zimmer is gonna get fired by the end of the year, to be honest.
Mm.
So I have the Vikings going 2-15. I think
Oh, okay.
I
No,
I
you
think
cannot tell me the Lions are going to have a better record than the Vikings. That's not a good take,
yeah.
actually. That's awful. No, the
That's
Lions
how
have the same
that's
kind of
how it broke
schedule.
out. That's
That's
how it
crazy.
broke.
No, you can't. No, I can't. I can't finish this. Go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I have some crazy takes sometimes, and I just don't feel like the Vikings are going to be good this year because of their schedule. It's a harder schedule than the Lions. It really is. They have to face the Panthers. Like that's a game I could see them winning. Maybe they will, but I I only see them in that 2 to 5 win range.
That's. Oh, geez, Ashton. Who do you have them beating? The Lions once, I'm guessing, and the Bears once.
Uh, I had them beating the Lions once, and then the Bengals. Yeah, the Lions and the Bengals are the only people they beat all year.
Wait, so they're gonna lose the Bears twice? No way. No
Yeah.
way. That's
Yep.
crazy. Okay, so this is who I
I
think they're.
said I said 2 to 5, so I could see them beating the Bears once. I
No
could
way.
see them beating a Steelers maybe on a good day. They could pick off the Cowboys, but I have them. That's. I just have a feeling like this is going to be a hard season for them.
Well, Ashton, when they make the playoffs, I'm gonna say I told you so because I think they're gonna be I think they're gonna be 8-9. But wow, 2 wins all year. That's when they have to play the
It's a
Lions.
tough schedule. It's a
It
tough
I
schedule.
know it's tough, but so is the Lions, and you had the Lions winning 3 games over the Vikings only winning 2. That's crazy.
Not really much of difference. I see them as the same
What?
quality team,
What?
really.
What? How? Tell me how you see that when the Vikings had a top 5 offense and retain everybody. That's crazy. No.
Harder schedule this year.
You said same talent roster wise. You said that. You see them the same.
Similarly, yeah.
Oh my god.
Talent-wise, just because Detroit has talent, they just
Yeah,
can't use
no
it.
talent outside the offensive line.
Oh, come on. They have
No,
a
I
good
mean that.
cornerback. It, they have a solid defensive line in Detroit.
They have an unproven second-year cornerback. I know who you're talking about. He hasn't performed yet. With a head coach, it's not going to help them.
Wow, he's new. We'll see.
Yeah, he's going to be biting the knees out of everybody this season. All right, guys. Before I lose my mind on Ashton some more, let's go ahead and end this video. Join us again next week as we go through the NFC East, and I know we're going to have very good debates about that division because that's also very interesting, top to bottom. And we'll see what happens, guys. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoyed it. We're ready for some football coming up. Let's get to the preseason. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you guys next time.